always stood with its activities, with its action and clear stance, and it revitalized the hopes of new for people, renewed and refreshed hopes and opened gates for people. And we, other than being the architect of the past 18 years, we as AK Party put forward our visions of 2023, 2050, and 2071. And for the future of our country, we have our vision, our targets, and our programs. And there is no other political organization that has the same tantamount to ours. The only politics that the other parties or the opposition parties engage in is to attack AK Party and oust Recep Tayyip Erdoğan. And this vicious circle, of course, has been repulsed by our people, as they have done so in the past, and they will not be paying tribute. My distinguished brothers and sisters, my distinguished nation, the world history has been led by great marches. Prophet Abraham walked from Haran to Palestine, was one of those marches, and from Egypt to the coast of Red Sea, again, our prophets walked. And Prophet, peace be upon him, walked from Mecca to Medina, and this was a walk, a march that changed the flow of history. And the fighters of Khorasan walked from Khorasan to other regions, and they ensured that love and peace prevailed in the places they walked to. And the fact that the geography we live in is surrounded by the sunshine of civilization is only because of those marches. Fatih Sultan Mehmed walked to the walls, the city walls of Istanbul, and Yavuz Sultan Selim walked to the desert of Sina, and they all symbolized and led the way for big changes. They gave new directions to the humanity, and our nation in 2002, August the 14th, founded AK Party, Justice and Development Party. Our nation founded the party, and they started a new movement. The first humankind, Prophet Adam, started the human history, and AK Party is a candidate to carry on what he started for the good of the humanity. And we have always stood out for the oppressed and protect the rights of the aggrieved. And our ancestors were the forebearers of such an understanding for centuries, and for centuries they did sweat to ensure that peace and stability and righteousness prevailed, because our cause is based on the words of God, and also takes the prophets as the guides on this holy path. And our movement covers all the way from Rumi to Yunus Emre, from Fuzuli to Ahmed Hani, or from Mehmet Akif Ersoy to many other sultans of hearts. And we have always found our source of life from those streams of hope. And this is the mindset of the Republic and the legacy of the Ottoman Empire. This is what our principle is based on. And our nation has given us such direction for our march. And now nothing will be as they used to be in the past. And our political journey that started years ago, 19 years ago, is ongoing hand to hand and heart to heart with 83 million of this country. And we said the same things now as we did 18 years ago. AK Party is a party that was born from the demands or out of the demands and requests and longings of our nation. AK Party only leans on the nation, and we have our nation in the essence of our party. AK Party's essence is only coming from the nation, and our fabric has been produced as such, so to say, and the success or the achievements we have so far belong only but only to our nation. So we have set sail with prayers, and we continue on our path with the same prayers. And what's important for us is to walk hand in hand with our nation. And as Yunus Emre stated, eyes should see what's right, and the soldiers should stand at halt. And what is glorious is not to look from above onto the others, but be humble. So the fact that AK Party emerged victorious in all the elections it participated is a result of the belief of our nation in us, and we would like to thank to our nation for not disappointing us. And our nation has given us the direction, and it is again our nation who named us. And in Turkey, on August the 14th, 2002, the party was founded, and from that day on, we should not forget what we have been through. In particular, after 2013, November 3rd elections, there were some games or accounts people took on in order to prevent AK Party from taking office. There were some who thought themselves superior to the nation, and such a small group of reckless people has made their ways and infiltrated into the society, and we know how they prepared traps set in front of us, and we know how they tried their best to expose us to different kinds of crises, and we know that they tried to provoke and corner us. We can still remember all of these very clearly. And during the presidential system elections, they acted imprudently and despicably, but we never cared for their acts, and there was even a suitcase, a court case to close the party, for the closure of the party in 2008, but no matter how strong we stood, their mindset never changed, but our nation stood against them. And this mindset, of course, will not be forgotten by our nation. And AK Party always stood with the and for the oppressed, and we voiced the righteousness of the oppressed in the international arena as loudly as possible. Of course, back in time, there were some with us, and some left the room when we were making talks and delivering speeches, and now they have founded their own political parties. Why so? The time will come, my brothers and sisters, and we will be seeing everything very clearly and put everything clearly to the notice of everyone, and by showing witnesses and our nation will know who really cares for them, but there's still time for it. There's some who try to stop all the movements of democracy we start, but we have persevered. We have shown patience. We have worked, found paths, and opened paths, and always marched ahead. And thank God we have been reaping the fruits of all our efforts exerted. And despite that, of course, we have been attacked and some traps laid in front of us, and those have never come to an end. And they came at us with all the materials, all the means they could find. With the domestic confusions in Syria, the plots against our country were brought to a much more different dimension, and very heinous attacks took place, and from time to time bloody and bloodthirsty attacks took place, and Gezi Park events as well as December 17 acts targeted our country, and they tried to divide the country by trenches, remember, and they directed many terrorist organizations such as PKK against us and launched attacks against us in Libya, in northern Iraq, in the East Mediterranean. We have launched operations, and we have responded. We have responded in the language they understand, and we have responded today and told them, never attempt to attack our vessel Oruç Reis. If you do attack our vessel, you will be paying a heavy price, we said, and they have now received their first response today. An economy is used by those people through the means of interest rates, FX rates, or whatsoever, and they brought their means as strongly as they could to target our economy, but we have taken all the necessary measures and further fortified our economy. In all the fields, we have a strong infrastructure, and our capacity has become more clear for everyone to see during such challenging periods. Of course, AK Party has always stood out with its services, with the figures it has created or the monuments it constructed. And we, of course, have not only dreamt for Turkey, but have brought these realities to practice. Those dreams have come now true, and we took over an education budget of $8.7 billion, but now we have brought it up as high as $131 billion. During our office, totally 324,000 classrooms and 34,000 laboratories, 15,000 libraries, and 2,800 digital libraries have been constructed, and we have appointed thousands, hundreds of thousands of teachers in the field of health, primary healthcare institutions or hospitals or healthcare centers have been constructed, and thousands of them have now become operational, and the hospital bed capacity has come from 130,000 to 260,000. And the city hospitals we have constructed, of course, raised the bar of success in the field of health even higher. And we have inaugurated many hospitals, and as you know, in Konya there is a city hospital constructed. We haven't still officially inaugurated the hospital, but the hospital has now been admitting patients, but we will be opening the hospital in Konya, and with that we will be bringing 15 fully functional and fledged city hospitals to the service of our people. The number of the sports complexes increased up to 3,700 from 1,500, and the licensed athletes now we have about more than 10 million licensed athletes representing our country across the world. And more importantly, university students, of course, they used to pay fees to universities, and in the past they used to hold rallies or protests in the past, but we abolished that requirement in our term. Now the students don't have to pay any tuition fees or what not. When we took office, the scholarship given to the granted to the students was only 45 liras per month, but we have increased that figure up to 550. And for the MA or MS students, it now is about 1100, and for the PhD students, it's 1500 per month. And the number of the universities was only 76, but we established an additional 137 universities, and now we have more than 206 universities across our country. And some people questioned why we needed so many universities, but they fall short to understand. And the number of the university students is now 8 million in our country, while it used to only be 1.7 million. And now our universities are not unified or stereotyped, but they are different. There are thematic universities or regional development-oriented universities or vocational education-oriented universities. So we have diversified the scope of education that our universities deliver. Robotics, artificial intelligence, digitalization in education, or cybersecurity, and many other fields, nanotechnology. We are now training, educating thousands of new scientists, and we will continue. And the number of the staff in the fields of jurisdiction has increased by 77% by the recently recruited officials, and this goes the same for the administrative judicial system. So this way we have further solidified the infrastructure of our legal system, and we have also constructed more than 250 court buildings. When it comes to transportation and infrastructure, it is one of the areas that we have made a great difference in. We have built many roads, highways, and we now have built 27,000 kilometers of highways, and intercity highways again grew in length. The number of the tunnels now stand at 395, and the length of the tunnels has now come to 523 kilometers. From Bolu Mountain Tunnel to Yavuz Sultan Selim Bridge, from Osman Gazi Bridge to Eurasia Tunnel. We have constructed many projects, and of course Marmarail, and after Marmarail we constructed Eurasia Tunnel, and to July 15 Independence Tunnel, and Sabuncu-Beli tunnels, and many other tunnels and roadways and constructions, and many other services have now been brought to our people, offered to our people. And North Marmara Highway, and many other great works of art have been produced, constructed during our term.
Nasihat etmeye gelince nasihat eden kardeşlerimiz var. Biz 3 saat 15 dakika falan diyoruz ama onlar diyor ki ben 2,5 saatte varıyorum diyenler de var.
Some say the driving time
Yine yolların
has
kuralı
now
vardır,
been
öyleyse
brought down
kuralı
to
uyalım.
2 hours and a half
Ankara,
from
Eskişehir,
3 and a half
Konya,
from one
İstanbul
city to the
yüksek hızlı tren
other,
hatları,
thanks to the bridge
Kars,
and high-speed
Tiflis,
trail lines,
Bakü, İpek
Kars,
Demiryolu,
Tbilisi,
İzmir'de
Baku
İzban,
railway,
Ankara'da Başkent
and
Ray,
in Izmir,
Halkalı,
Izban,
Gebze,
in
Banliyö
Ankara,
hattı gibi
Başkent Ray,
eserlerle
or
demir
Gebze
yollarında
suburban
mührümüzü bastık.
trains, all
26
created a
olan
difference,
havalimanı
and the
sayımız
number of the
30
airports was only
ilaveyle 56'ya çıktı.
26, and we
Şu
have
anda
constructed
56
30
havalimanımız
new
var.
airports. Now the figure
Havalimanlarımızın toplam
is
yıllık yolcu
56.
kapasitesi
The
60,2
annual
milyon
passenger
kişiden
capacity was around
318 milyon kişiye ulaştı.
62 million, but now it has exceeded the figure
Gurur
of
abidesi bir eser olarak
328
gördüğümüz
million
İstanbul Havalimanı'nın
annually.
yıllık
Istanbul
90
Airport
milyon
is a
yolcu
source of pride
kapasiteli
for us,
ilk
and it
etabını
has a capacity
hizmete
of
aldı.
9 million
Sosyal
passengers annually,
yardımlarda ise
and the first phase of the
adeta
airport
destan
has
yazdı.
come operational. When it comes
2
to
milyar
social
lira olan
humanitarian aid, we
sosyal
made
yardım
history.
tutarı bugün
The
55 milyara yükseldi.
amount was only
Kamudaki
2.5
engelli
billion
personel
in the
sayısını
past, but now it is 55
5777'den
billion,
55
and
binin
now
üzerine
we have
çıkarttı.
more than
Evde bakım
55,000
hizmeti alan
public
engellilerimiz
officials
yaklaşık
serving in that
527
field,
bin kişi.
while it used to be only
Evde kendilerine hizmet
2,000.
veriyor.
And we deliver aid
Türkiye'nin
to
dört bir
people
yanına
at their
38
homes,
millet
to their doors.
kıraathanesini
And we also
açtık
opened
ve şu anda faaliyet.
38 national
23
gardens,
millet
and now
bahçemizi
they are
vatandaşlarımızın hizmetine sunduk.
open for the service of
72
our
ilimizde
people. In
208
72
millet bahçesi
cities,
için
we
yaklaşık 45
have
milyon metrekare alanda
allocated
çalışmalarımız
about an
devam
area an
Son
area
18
of
yılda
75
TOKİ
square
kanalıyla
kilometers,
inşa edilen
and
hak
still
sahiplerine
activities are
verilen konut
ongoing to
sayısı
build new
770
national
bine geçti.
gardens, and we have
Tarımda kendi
uh,
kendine yeterli olmamızın yanı
started
sıra
dwelling house
ülkemiz
projects,
bu
and more than
alanda
700,000
ihracatçı bir ülke
people
konumuna da
now have bought
gelmiştir.
their apartments
Daha önce
or
40
houses.
milyar lirayı
And in
bile
agriculture,
bulmayan
we have
tarımsal
made a lot.
milli hasılamız
The agricultural
geçtiğimiz yıl
national income last year was
275 milyar
registered
liraya
at 275,000 billion liras, and the agricultural incentives we provide to our farmers used to be only at standing at 1.8 billion when we took office, but now the figure is 22 billion. See how much of a road we have covered.
enerjide
In
TANAP
energy, with TANAP
Türk Akıl
project
gibi
and as well
prestij
Turk
projelerini
Stream,
hayata
we have
ülkemizin
brought
60 yıllık hayali olan
prestigious
yerli
projects
otomobil projesini gerçeğe dönüştürmek
to
için
practice,
kolları
and
sıvamak,
we also rolled up our
hamdolsun
sleeves to manufacture
İnşallah
our local
2022 yılı
vehicles,
sonunda
and hopefully
aracımız
by the end
banttan
of
inecek ve
2020,
ülkemiz
the
elektrikli
vehicles will
araçlar
be
konusunda
off the
dünyada
production
lider
lines, and in
ülkelerden
the
biri
field of
haline
electric
gelecek.
cars, our country will be one of the leading countries in manufacturing electric
Biliyorsunuz
cars across the
geçenlerde
world.
Gemlik'te
As you know,
temeli attık.
a few days ago in
Fabrikamız
Geblik,
inşallah
we did the
1 milyon
groundbreaking
metrekarelik
ceremony,
bir alan
and a
üzerinde
facility will be
inşa
constructed
edilecek
in
ve
an
o
area
alanda
of
üretime
1 million
geçecek.
square meters, and the production
Değerli
will start
dava
immediately
arkadaşlarım,
when the construction
yol
is complete
arkadaşlarım,
for that plant.
bugün
My
ülkemiz ve
distinguished
milletimiz için
friends at
verdiğimiz
cause,
uzun,
this
meşakkatli,
long,
her an dolu dolu
challenging
geçen mücadele
um,
sürecinin
process
kritik
of
bir
struggle
aşamasındayız. Cumhuriyet
is
tarihimizin
what we are
en büyük
experiencing
kalkınma
now, and we
hamlelerini
are
ve
experiencing maybe the most
demokratikleşme
critical phase
adımlarını
of that.
hayata
We are
geçirdiğimiz
materializing
18 yılı
the movements
ekonomi
of
açısından iki döneme
development and
ayırmak gerekiyor.
democratization, and we have to
Birinci
split
dönem
this era into
2002
two. The first
2013
era,
arasını
first period
kapsayan
was
potansiyelimizi
The years 2002 to 2013, it was a period when we discovered, explored what our potential was. It was a turning point. And in between 2013 and 2019, we have gained a lot in economy, from construction to agriculture and many other fields. We have captured a very positive growth, and we have understood our capacity more. Our national income in 2019 went all the way up to 950 billion, while it used to be around 230, and the per capita income increased up to 12,000, while it used to be around 3,000. This way, we ensured that our country was in the high income levels, and our export volume increased up to $152 billion. Just remember, we had many zeros in our currency, but in our back in time, we removed that extra zeros, and there are some who now try to take a share of what we did. I guess the Prime Minister of the time said, well, we were going to do it. But it is not important to say, but it is important to act. And this is how we took steps forward. And the interest rates were around 63%, and we said the interest rates, inflation will fall, and we brought it down, and now it is 4.6%. And when it comes to the inflation rates, now we have a figure of 8%. And they still resist against us, some people, because for example, in the past, those people did not have any resilience against IMF. And when we were in Davos with Strauss-Kahn, the French official, we were having a meeting, and in the meeting I said, you preside IMF, but I preside Turkey. I said to him, consequently, when it comes to the debt of Turkey, yes, you can keep a close track. I said to him, your officials can visit and whatsoever. I said, but when it comes to the political issues, you cannot give us instructions. It is our duty. I said to him, do you receive the installment payments? And yes, you do. Therefore, you cannot give us any directions or guidance when it comes to the politics. So it is our job to administrate the country. And back on that date, our that amount was $22 billion to IMF. And in 2013 May, we have brought this figure down to zero, and we owe nothing to IMF. How was this possible? It was because of and thanks to our attitudes in terms of interest rates. So we have no doubt or whatsoever. And now the leader of the opposition party says go to IMF and borrow some money from them. It is what you do. Actually, this is not what we do, because we say that we are self-sufficient and we do not need any money from the others. We have been self-sufficient so far, and we will be in the future. And before 2002, the international foreign direct investments didn't even know where our country was, so to say, but we have attracted many FDIs, and the
27,5
total
milyar dolar.
reserves of our central bank was
Başbakanlığım döneminde 135
$27.5
milyar doları buldu.
billion dollars. And when I
Fakat
was serving
şu
as the prime
anda
minister of the country, this
bir
figure
düşüş
went all the way
söz
up to
konusu.
135
90
billion
küsür
dollars.
gibi
But
bir
now
rakamdayız.
there's a fall.
Burayı
The figure is
toparlayacağız
about
inşallah.
90
Ve
something
aynı şekilde
billion
Merkez
dollars.
Bankamızın
So
gücü
we will recover, hopefully,
inşallah
and the
çok
power
daha
of our
farklı
central
bir
bank,
getiriyi
of
sağlayacak.
course,
Gezi
will be
olaylarının
bringing in
başladığı 2013'ün
additional
Mayıs
income.
ayında
In May
Merkez
2013, when
politika
Gezi Park
faizi
events took start,
sadece
the
%4.
politics interest rates of
Tarihe
central
özellikle
bank
dikkatlerinizi
was
çekiyorum. 2013'ten
um,
günümüze kadar olan dönemi mücadele dönemi olarak
less,
adlandırılıyor.
and that is why
Bu
the
dönemde
period
yaşadığımız
from
her bir saldırının
2013 on
doğrudan ve
has
dolaylı
been
etkileriyle
an era, a
ülkemize
period of
ağır bedelleri
struggles
oldu.
for us,
Faizler ve
because
enflasyon
there are
yeniden çift tanelere yükselirken
many
ekonomik büyüme bir miktar ivme kaybetti.
impacts of
Ancak
that, and we
hamdolsun
have experienced the
attığımız
impacts
kararlı adımlarla
of those all
ekonomimizin
in the field of
daha güçlü
economy
bir
in
şekilde
particular,
yoluna
but
devam
with the
etmesini
steps we
sağladık.
have taken forward, we have
Nitekim
ensured that our
2019
economy
sonu ile
grows more and
kıyasladığımızda
more
her
resilient.
alanda
And when we
2002'nin
compare
kat
our
kat
current
üzerindeyiz.
situation
Milli
uh,
gelirimiz 236
in economy
milyardan
to what it
754
was
milyar
before
dolara.
2002, the situation, the conditions we are in is now much better. And now the per capita income is more than $9,300. In 2002, according to the purchasing parities, we were ranked as the 70th biggest economy of the world. But now we are the 13th biggest economy of the world. And our export volume has now gone over $180 billion. And services export is now more than $65 billion. And in 2019, the number of the tourists who visited our country was a record-breaking figure, 52 million. So we were the sixth destination across the globe in terms of tourists, number of tourists. And our current accounts, transactions, had even a surplus, and the FDI's volume exceeded 28 billion, and the total reserves of the central bank in 2019, despite everything, was over 106 billion. And the public debt, the sovereign debt, went down from 70 to 30%. The inflation rates was 11.8 last year, and our industrial production every year on average increases by 5.9%. Besides, as of today, we have an organized industrial zone in each and every city of this country. And for the first time, the share of RD in our national income has exceeded 1%. And the agricultural sector, of course, followed the suit, and the income has come up to 235 billion from 35 billion. For example, the opposition party says in agriculture the situation is bad and our farmers have now gone bankrupt, they say, those opposition party leaders. But in agriculture, Turkey will have a boom, and we will be one of the few agricultural countries of the world, and our agricultural export has increased from 3.8 billion to $18 billion. And in international indexes, we have claimed a lot of achievements. By the World Bank, there is this index of ease of business making, and in the past 2 years, we climbed up 29 ranks and claimed higher ranks in that list. And for the first time, we also were listed in the high humanitarian human capital development list, and these all indicate how successful the past 18 years have been. Hopefully, when the pandemic comes to an end, we will step into a new era, and I believe that this era will be an era of glory.
Ülkemizi dünyanın en büyük 10 ekonomisi arasına dahil edeceğimiz bu dönemde adım adım
So we will be
2023
including our
hedeflerimize
economy in the top 10,
ve 2070
our country in the top 10 economies of the world, and this way we will be marching towards our 2023 and 2071 targets, because AK Party still has a lot to do for this nation, for this country, and has a lot of actions to undertake. And now, of course, we are in a different condition now, but on August 26, we will be in Marzikent area, and the night of the 25th, we will be accommodating there, and we will be making our way to Marzikert, and we will be making celebrations as we do every year. All the big reforms we have made, and all the transformations we have ensured, laid the grounds for a greater Turkey, and with our nation we will be completing the construction process, so to speak, because we have never aimed at only success only in elections, and we have always refrained from confining our politics into such vicious circles. We have decisively stood for the rights of every section of the society, mostly the oppressed, and the fact that our nation has embraced our party is because of those things. Every circle of the every rank of the party try their best to serve our nation, our people, and there has not been any other political party that remained in power for such a long time. And this is only because of the connection that we have with our nation. And we are not to master the nation, but we are on this path to serve the nation. That is why we have taken our parts in this path and march. And AK Party has never lost such consciousness, such awareness, and that is why we have made our way to this very day. And as long as we keep our ties close, we will continue to serve our nation. And another important thing about our cause and about our party is the importance we attach to negotiation. We have negotiations in all ranks of the party. It is a sine qua non, and our congresses help renew our policies and strategies, but it is also the most constructive and comprehensive ground for us to refresh. And we know that we took a close stance, and we remained close to one another and never gave way to any dissension or derogation. And those who attempted to upset us or lay
milli
traps in
iradeye
front of
yapılan
us
hiçbir
have always
saldırıyla
received their
bitmez.
responses, and
Hukuktan
we will not
siyasete,
forget any
ekonomiden
attack launched
diplomasiye
against us,
her
from
alanda
law to
milletimize
economy,
pusu
from
kuranları
diplomacy to health.
unutmayacağız.
There are
Milletin
and there have
üzerine
been some
uçaklarla,
people who ambushed,
tanklarla,
and we will not
helikopterlerle
forget them.
saldıranları
We will not
unutmayacağız.
forget those who attacked our nation uh, from helicopters or by using tanks
Onları
or
üzerimize gönderenleri
aircrafts.
de unutmayacağız.
And we will not forget
Bu
the
ülkenin
people who
bütünlüğüne ve
masterminded
dirliğine,
them,
milletimizin
the
birliğine ve
attackers,
beraberliğine
and
karşı kurulan
we will
hain tuzakları
not
unutmayacağız.
forget all the
Bizi
heinous
birbirimize
traps
düşürmek için
set in front
sürekli
of
kılçık
us,
atanları
and we will
unutmayacağız.
not be forgetting
Maalesef
those people who
bazılarının
tried to turn
yaraları pansuman
us
etmek yerine deşerek
against
18
one
yıldır
another. Some,
sayısız defa
instead of trying
yaşadığımız bu
to
senaryoya
heal the
malzeme
wounds,
verdiğini görüyoruz.
indeed pressed salt
AK Parti
on them. And
ülkemizde kadınların
we
en aktif
clearly see
şekilde
who they
yer
are.
aldığı bir
AK
hareket.
Party is again a movement in which women take very active roles.
Partimizin değerli kardeşlerim 4 milyon 800 bini aşan
Distinguished brothers and
kadın
sisters,
kolları
we have
sayısı.
more than
Ülkemizdeki
4.8
diğer tüm
million
partilerin
members
toplam üye
of our
sayısından bile
women's
fazladır.
branches. This figure is higher than the total number of members of some political parties active in our country.
Böyle bir partinin kadın hakları konusunda
So such a party always
aktif
stands
olmaması
for the
mümkün mü?
women's rights. Is it possible for such a party not to
2002'den bu
be
yana
active
yasal
to support the
düzenlemelerden
women's rights?
kamuda kadın
From
istihdamının
2002 on,
artışına,
we
iş
have
dünyasından
made
sivil
legal
toplum
amendments
örgütlerine
to
kadar
increase the labor
toplumsal
force.
hayatın bütün
Um,
alanlarında kadınlarımızın geldiği nokta bütün
Female labor
istatistikler
force, and
itibariyle
in all sections
eskiyle
of the society and
kıyaslanamayacak
working areas,
2004
we
yılında
have
anayasamıza
registered figures
haklar
much
konusunda özellikle
higher as
kadınlar ve
compared to what
erkekler
was
eşit
like
haklara
before
sahiptir.
2002, and women and men have equal rights. And all we said,
Devlet bu eşitliğin yaşama geçmesini sağlamakla yükümlüdür.
and the state authorities are responsible are liable to
2010 yılında
materialize
ayrımcılığı da
such equality, and that's why we have even brought a positive discrimination to protect the families and women. And in 2012, we have brought a new law to effect.
Yıl içinde elektronik ortamlar üzerinden gerçekleştirilen satış tutarının asgari ücretin yıllık brüt tutarı kadar olan kısmını gelir vergisinden muaf tuttu.
And we have
Doğum
deemed
yapan çalışanlara
we have
pek çok
exempted
kolaylık
some
sağladı.
of our
Son 18 yılda kadın iş gücü yaklaşık 4
female
milyon,
workers
kadın
from
istihdamı
paying
2,8
taxes,
milyon,
and this way
kadınların
2.8
iş gücüne katılma oranı
million
%34,4
women
ve istihdam
have
oranı
been
ise
recruited, and the
%28,2'ye
employment rate has increased up to 27% across the country. And in the past 2 years, 44,000 new women, 44,000 women benefited from active programs and projects, and from the vocational courses, thousands, hundreds of thousands of women benefited. From 2009 to 2019, 770,000 women benefited from such programs and initiatives. All the entrepreneurship or workshops or education programs delivered from 2009 to 2019, we know that more than 235,000 women benefited, and 87.3% of females were attending schools. But as of last year, the net schooling rate is 92.1%, and for the elementary school students, it has increased to 93.6%, and in secondary education, it used to be 45.2%, but it has now increased to
Kadınların yüksek
83.9%.
öğretimde okullaşma
When
oranı
it comes to the higher education,
%13,5
it
iken
used to
bu
be
oranda
only 13.5, while now it is
Üniversitelerde kadın
46.4%.
öğretim görevlileri
Now,
oranı
when it comes to the female lecturers at universities,
%50,35'tir.
it is
Profesörler içerisinde kadın oranı %30.
50.35%. And for
Doçentler
professors, it is
içerisinde kadın oranı
32%. For
%40.
associate professors, it's
Doktor
40%.
öğretim üyeleri içerisinde
For
%44.
assistant professors, it's
Araştırma
44%.
görevlileri
And
içerisinde
for research
%51.
assistants, it's
Bütün dünyada
51%.
erkeklerin
Across the
egemen
world,
olduğu
actually,
diplomatik görevlerde
the diplomatic
266 büyükelçimizden 66'sı,
duties, tasks
85
are
başkonsolosumuzdan 17'si, 81 genel müdür ve genel müdür yardımcılarımızdan
more
24'ü
populated. Those positions are
toplam
populated by men, but in
14.918
our
hakimden
country, we have many female diplomats and
6.878'i
officials.
yani
And on the other hand,
%46 ve 6.967 savcıdan
46% of our judges are
1025'i
female.
yani
When it comes to the
%14,7'si
prosecutors,
kadın.
14.7% of them are female.
Parlamentodaki
In
kadın
2002, the number of the female MPs were only 24, and the representation of women in the assembly was 4.4%. And in 2018 elections of April, the number of the female MPs increased up to 104, and the representation ratio up to 45%. When it comes to violence against women, we have been running a lot of activities. Multi-directional, holistic approaches are adapted, and we are acting on the principle of zero tolerance for violence against women. And in 2002, December, we opened centers for prevention of violence against women and monitoring, and they have been serving in all cities of the country. And now we have more than 538,000 women who benefited from those centers, and 7% of those women receive continuous aid, and we have paid about 11.1 billion liras for aid or assistance, financial assistance purposes. And so far, we also allocated a budget of 5.6 billion for the women who lost their husbands. And we also allocated a lot of resources for other source of assistance for women. When it comes to birth assistance, so far we paid about 2.5 billion liras. My great nation, as you can see, the services we deliver for our women are numerous, and the list goes on because AK Party is a party of also our grandparents. Actually, it belongs to our grandmothers rather than our grandfathers, because we know the heavens are beneath the feet of our mothers. Mothers bless their children with many means, and we cannot compare what they do for us. Our parents, our aunts bless us a lot, with a lot, and we cannot ignore that. That is why this is a party of mothers, this is a party of aunts and all females, because it is also a party of young girls rather than young boys. So if necessary, we will not refrain from making positive discrimination to their favor, and no one can deny what women have claimed during our terms of office, and we should not forget that we have turned these lens into our homeland, our motherland altogether, women and men. We founded this state together. We brought this flag fly high all together, and we stood shoulder to shoulder during the most challenging times and survived. In the independence war, the women had their roles, and their roles were the same on July the 15th. If we are necessarily going to make a definition, we should say that Turkish nation is a family-oriented nation. So our nation is a big family, and each and every family of this great nation, yes, is a member of this great nation, but they are also the guarantees, if you will, of our future. So any understanding that dynamites the structure of families in our country will not be legitimate, and it will neither will be humanitarian. So for the women of AK Party, and also we will continue to work more. Some articulate some words I find it hard to bring myself to say. Some call them daisies, and there are some columnists who utter words I will not even mention. On behalf of all the women's branches and on behalf of all the women, I condemn those colonists or those people who speak ill words about our women. As the president of AK Party, as the chairperson of AK Party, as the president of the country, when it comes to standing for and with our women, we are fully aware that we will always be there for you, and if we do the otherwise, we cannot
toplumsal yapımıza sirayet eden kimi çarpık anlayışların ortadan
actually give an account of it, not in this world, not in the afterworld. So about this, we have always did what was necessary, and everyone should check their history, because there were some who buried girls alive, and sometimes some periods of ignorance. Do we not know those times? We condemned all those, and our Prophet, peace be upon him, fought against such people who discriminated women, who thought low of them. So now about these all, we are way ahead of many, and no one has anything bad to say against Turkey. And freedom is holy for everyone and is a right, and a right is of course holy for everyone. Labor is holy for everyone, and when there is a persecution or oppression done, it is an oppression. A homicide or murder, and no matter who the murderer is a murder. And violence is violence, no matter who acts or commits it. And hard words, harsh words are harsh words, no matter who speaks them. When it comes to slander, and no matter who slanders, it is a slander. Therefore, there are some who even consider women as properties, and it is definitely wrong.
Gerekirse şiddetle yola getirilebileceğinin sanılması ya benimsin ya kara toprağın gibi hastalıklı zihniyetlere.
There are some ill mindsets who think that they can do whatever they want.
her anlayış çarpıktır.
and
Bu
bring
çerçevede
women to their
tarihi
knees
adımlar
or
atıldı.
to the reason that
Kadınlarımız
they
lehine yaptığımız bunca düzenleme
want.
varken
But such
tartışmayı
an
değerlerimizi
understanding is
düşmanlık
also
aracı
wrong.
haline dönüştürmeye çalışan bir avuç sapkına da meydanı bırakmayacağız.
And we will not, of course, be allowing a bunch of perverts to
Milletimizin millet,
do as they
ailemizin
wish.
aile olmasını zedeleyecek anlayışlarla sonuna kadar mücadele
And we will
edeceğiz.
be fighting against all mindsets
PKK'nın daha
that target
kaçırdığı kız
our
çocukları konusunda
structure of a family.
tek kelime etmeyenlerin
There are those who
bırakınız
didn't
kadın
speak a single
meselesini
word
insana
when
dair hiçbir
PKK
konuda
kidnapped
söz
uh,
söyleme
uh,
hakları olamaz.
little girls. And those who turned a blind eye to
Türkiye'nin
such things will
onca
not
allı
have the
şanlı
right
kadın
to say a
derneğinden
single word
bu
again
konuda
about
herhangi bir
human
tepki
rights or
açıklaması
women's
duydunuz mu?
rights. There are many organizations
Her
operating
konuda ortaya
in
çıkıp
Turkey.
sokaklara dökülen
So about everything
medyayı
they
seferber
take to
eden,
the
en
streets
yüksek
and
perdeden
mobilize
bağıran
the
güya
media
insan hakları
outlets and make
savunucularından
an
bir açıklama
outcry
işittiniz mi?
and uproar those so-called human
Özellikle
rights
meslek
advocates.
örgütlerinden bu
Have you
hususta
heard
bir şey
any
dokunup
word coming
açık,
from them?
net,
And some
kesin ve tartışmasız bir tavır
professional
sergileyen oldu mu?
organizations have
Kesimler için
they showed
zihinlerindeki
a clear
ajandayı
stance
hayata geçirecek
in the
bir
face of
zemin
all such
bulabilmek,
things?
her türlü
Well, they
insan
have
hakkı
not,
mücadelesinden
because
önemli.
their personal
Tavırlarıyla
agendas are
kendi
more important than
konumlarını
any kind of
kendileri
human
belirliyorlar.
rights advocacy,
Bu
and
konumun
this is how
tarifi de
they act.
iki
And
yüzlü, ideolojik
this is a
saplantılı,
hypocrite,
milletinin değerleriyle
ideologically
barışamamış bir
obsessed
çizgidir.
style
Son dönemde
that has not made
özellikle
peace
yürütülen
with the values of the nation.
bazı
In the
tartışmalara
past
artık bir nokta koymanın zamanının geldiğine inanıyorum.
times, there are some
Maalesef
discussions
yıllardır
ongoing,
gerek
and I
kalemi,
believe it is
gerek
time that we
aktivizmiyle bu millete hizmeti geçmiş kimi isimler kendilerine asla
make some
yakıştıramadığımız,
clarification.
asla tasvip edemeyeceğimiz çirkin ifadelerle bu tartışmanın içinde yer almıştır.
Some figures even took their part in such ugly discussions. We are open to any kind of offer or any proposal, any kind of struggle, and we will be respecting to any kind of idea. But when it comes to attacking the personality of women or their honor, we will not show any tolerance.
Adı
We will not show any
ünvanı
tolerance
ne olursa
to
olsun,
any slander, to any
birilerinin
harassment or
burada
whatnot
edebimizin
against
el
our women,
vermeyeceği ifadelerle
no matter what titles they have.
AK
Such
Partili
people
kadınları istismar etmesine asla sessiz kalamayız.
target our AK Party women,
Yapılan
and
bu
we cannot
saygısızlığın en kısa
remain
sürede
silent
telafi
in the
edileceğini
face of their
bir daha da
disrespect,
tekerrür
and I believe
etmeyeceğine
they
inanıyorum.
will be
Biz inancımızın ve kültürümüzün temelinde yer alan aile
conveying their
kurumunu
apologies
zayıflatacak hiçbir işin içinde
for
yer
what they
almayız.
said, and such things will not take place again, because we care a lot about the sensitivity of our family structure, and we will not allow anyone to judge us and the world.
Benim kadın kollarımın
Some do send
başında olanlara
tweets
istifasını
and
vermeli
ask
veya
some
istifa etmesi
women
gerekir.
branches women to resign.
Size mi soracağım?
Who are you? Are we going to ask what you think
Partimizin
when our party's women's branches are working? So the members of our women's branches use their own democratic choices from one Congress to the other, so we do not need your permission.
kadına yönelik şiddet konusundaki
Our
hassasiyetimizde
sensitivity
insana olan saygı
for
ve
the
sevgimizden olduğu
violence
kadar
against
aile
women
kavramına olan
is
yaklaşımımızdan
stemming
da
from
kaynaklanıyor.
our approach, our
Ne kadına
understanding
şiddetle mücadelemizin
for family
zafiyete
structure.
uğratılmasına
We will not
ne de bir
allow
avuç
any
barışların
weaknesses
aile
in our
değerlerimizi
sensitivity
zedelemesine
and
izin
our stance against
Türkiye
violence
olarak
against
bin
women.
yıllara sari medeniyet birikimimizde insanı ve
We
insan
have a
onurunu
civilization
yücelten
of thousands of years, and we take family to the core of our
özgün ve
values,
öncü
and
üretimler çıkarma
we
potansiyeline
have a potential
ziyadesiyle sahip olduğumuza
to
inanıyorum.
bring the family to the
Şimdiye kadar
foreground, to the
oluşan
front line,
uluslararası
and
külliyattan da istifade ederek
now
tercüme
using the
metinler yerine
international,
artık
of
kendi
course,
çerçevemizi kendimiz
studies.
belirlememiz gerekiyor.
We have
Hani diyordum ya, Kopenhag kriterleri diyeceğimize
learned a lot, but
Ankara
we
kriterleri
should
der
be
ve yolumuza
defining
devam
our own
ederiz.
criteria. So instead of saying, for example, Copenhagen criteria, we better say
Enerjimizi
Ankara
ve vaktimizi
criteria and
heba eden
pursue our
son tartışmanın
journey. And
kasıtlı bir şekilde
discussions, recent
alevlendirildiğini,
discussions,
bazılarının da bilerek veya
I
bilmeyerek
believe
bu ateşe
has
odun
been
taşıdığını
ignited
düşünüyorum.
by some
Bu ateşi
purposefully,
körükleyenler
and some
kadına şiddetle
did
mücadele
pour
eden
fuel
veya
on that
kadınların insan
fire
haklarını tesis etmekten
intentionally.
bir adım olsun geri gideceğimizi sanıyorlarsa
And if some
şimdiden
believe that we
Türkiye
will be taking
hüsrana
steps
uğrayacak.
backwards in our stance in terms of defending for the
Gereksiz
rights of
tartışmalar
women,
üzerinden körüklenmeye
should
çalışılan
know
bu
that
fitne ateşini
their
inşallah
expectations
basiret ve ferasetle davranarak
will be
tamamen
upset. So this
söndüreceğimize inanıyorum.
fire of
Aziz milletim,
unrest or dissension
değerli dava
will
arkadaşlarım,
be put
geçtiğimiz
out
18 yıl
by
boyunca olduğu gibi bugün de
our
istikrar ve
clear
güvenden,
stance.
adalet ve
So my dear
demokrasiden
brothers
taviz
and
vermeden
sisters, we have never
ülkemize
compromised or
büyük
made any
hizmetler
concessions
ve
about
önemli projeler
justice and
kazandırmaya
democracy,
devam
and
ediyoruz.
we have been
1000
bringing
yıldır
in new
barış
projects,
ve
big
kardeşlik
projects,
içinde yaşadığımız
and
ülkemizde
for more than
refah ve
1,000
huzurun
years
hakim
we have
olması
lived
için
in
var gücümüzle çalışıyoruz.
fraternity and peace,
Türkiye'nin
and we
doğusundan
try our
batısına,
best to
kuzeyinden
make peace
güneyine
prevails
neresinde yaşarsak
in the south, or
her
in the north,
insanımızı
in the
aynı
west, or in
samimiyetle
the east of
kucaklıyor,
our country, and we
memleketimizin her
embrace
karış
each and
toprağını,
every
her
person, each and
insanını
every
aynı duyguyla
citizen
seviyoruz.
of our great
Demokrasiye,
country, and love them
adalete,
equally.
insan
We
hak ve
believe in
özgürlüklerine,
democracy, justice,
hukuk
human
devletinin
rights, and
gereklerine
freedoms,
ve ülkemizin gelecek
and
ideallerine
requirements of
yürekten bağlı.
rule of law,
Herhangi bir
requirements of the rule
ırk taassubu
of a
içerisinde
legal state
olmadan
and the rule of law.
yaradılanı
And we
yaradandan
love
ötürü
the
sevmek
created
suretiyle yolumuza
because of
devam
the
ediyoruz.
Creator, and this is how we
Bugüne kadar
follow our
milletimizin sürekli
course.
artan teveccühüne mazhar olmanın
We
onurunu
have
yaşıyoruz.
been blessed by the ever-growing
Türkiye'nin
kindness of our
seçilmiş
great people.
hükümetine ve kendi
The elected
iradesine
government
her zamankinden daha
and
çok
the
sahip
laws
çıkıyor. Küresel
of
ve
our
bölgesel
country
bir aktör haline
are
gelen
respected,
Türkiye,
and Turkey
yürüttüğü
now has
aktif
become a
diplomasiyle
global and a regional
ulusal ve uluslararası
um,
çıkarlarını
actor,
daha
and
güçlü
it
şekilde
more
korumaya
strongly
kalkıyor.
protects its national and
Bölgesel ve
international
küresel barış
rights.
için
For global
adalet
and
için
regional
bütün
peace,
imkanlarımızı
for
seferber
justice,
ediyor.
we have
En
been
üst seviyede
mobilizing all of our
sorumlulukla üstlenmeye
means
devam
and
ediyoruz. 2023
and
hedeflerimize 2053
assume
ve 2071
responsibilities
vizyonumuza
in
uygun
this
bir
regard.
Türkiye'yi
And
milletçe
we
el ele inşa
will be
edeceğimize
constructing the
yürekten
Turkey of a
inanıyorum.
future hand in
Türkiye,
hand for our
demokrasi,
visions of
insan hakları
2023,
ve
2051,
kalkınma
and
yolundaki çabasını
2071,
yeni
and
başarılarla
the efforts of
taçlandırdıkça
Turkey
sadece
in the
kendi
field of
sınırları içerisinde değil,
development and in
bölgesinde
growth
ve
and
dünyada da bir
democratization
istikrar
will
ve
crown
güç merkezi
what it
olacak.
has already done
Bunu
with
başaracak
further
olan da
actions, and
AK
Turkey
Parti.
will be a center of
Bugün
power
19.
in its
kuruluş yıl
region,
dönümümüzü
and
kutluyoruz.
AK Party will be
19 yaş
uh,
demek
achieving
en
that. We
güçlü,
are now celebrating
en
our
atılgan,
19th
en
anniversary.
enerji dolu,
Age
en
19 means
gayretli,
that we
en
are
hevesli
now
dönem demektir.
we are now experiencing our most dynamic, ambitious,
Genç bir
enthusiastic
şairimiz
period.
partimizin bu kuruluş yıl dönümünü ne güzel anlatmış.
And poet
Ay yıldız zirvede,
said beautifully,
destan topusta.
Star and Crescent
Türkiye
are on the
aşkıyla
top,
güne biiznillah.
and the legends
AK Parti bir civan,
are red.
19'unda.
AK Party is
Yarına
brave
bismillah, düne
one
maşallah.
at
Tek
the age of
vücut,
19,
el ele,
hand in
gönül gönüle,
hand and heart to
birliğe
heart
yürüdü mukaddes çile.
we stand,
Gıpta etti sevdamız
envied
bülbüle, güle.
the others
Yürünen
for our love.
mübarek ize maşallah.
mashallah, for the path
İnançtan çınarın kavi dalları,
we take.
şahlanan
The
küheylan
branches
gençlik
of
kolları.
the
Ey kutlu
sapling of
davanın
belief
ak kadınları. nene hatunları
Ak women
size
of the
maşallah.
Holocaust.
Sahada
Mashallah
çalışan
for
her
you.
ak nefere, birlikte yazılan nice
Everyone
zafere,
of AK Party
sancağı
working
taşıyan
in the field, for many
cengaverlere,
stories made,
Ulubatlı Hasan misali maşallah.
for the bearers of
Davayı
our flag,
kuşanan hilal hatlara, sevdayı taşıyan
for the
şimşek
carriers
atlara,
of our
merkezde
love,
taşrada teşkilatlara,
for all the
yokuşa
organizations
maşallah,
in all the
düze
removed
maşallah.
parts of the country, for all the
Neler yaptık
struggles,
neler,
for everything
sığmıyor
we
söze.
have endured.
Eserle kavuştu
Mashallah
gece
for us all.
gündüze. Yükselen Türkiye'm gelmesin
Rising
göze.
Turkey
Lisana
should be
maşallah,
protected
söze
against the
maşallah.
evil eye.
Nidamız
Mashallah for our
Akif'in korkma
words
sesidir.
and for our belief.
Millet
Our call
gönlümüzün efendisi.
is the words of
AK Parti
Akif when he said,
milletin
"Fear
ta
not."
kendisidir.
And the real masters of our nation
Tek
is
bayrak,
of our country is the
bize
nation.
maşallah,
One
tek
nation,
vatan,
one flag,
tek devlet,
one
bize maşallah.
state, one
Evet.
homeland.
Biz de maşallah diyoruz.
Mashallah
Ve
for
nice
us.
yıl dönümlerinde buluşmayı diliyorum.
So we hope
Bir başka
to
şairin dediği
celebrate
gibi,
many
şu
more
göğüs
anniversaries
kafesimi
to
genişleten
come.
umudum
And
var
another
oldukça,
poet
güzel
said,
günler
as
olan
long as I
inancım
have
hiç
my chest
bitmeyecek.
full of
Hepinize
love, I will
sevgilerimi,
not be running out
saygılarımı
of
sunuyorum. Kalın
love and
sağlıcakla.
belief into the future. Thank you very much.
Genel Başkanı Cumhurbaşkanımız Sayın Recep Tayyip Erdoğan'a hitaplarından dolayı teşekkürlerimizi ve saygılarımızı arz ediyoruz.
Başardım kalpten, gönülden.
İşte teşkilat,
Sarıldım,
işte lider,
dön bir bak
işte
şu tarihe.
milletimizle beraber
Koskoca bir
inandığımız yolda
yıldırsın.